have 5 observations of the INTJ from an INTP's perspective. I'm going to share them with you. These are my personal experience. I'm not going to dive into the cognitive functions and get all messy with all of that. No, I'm just going to tell you what I've observed and what I've also read in literature concerning MBTI and similar frameworks that also reference the patterns that I've observed. So here we are. The first thing I've observed about the INTJ is their presence in person. And it's one of my favorite things about the INTJ. They have a very strange way about them. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. It's almost like they don't understand the world around them from a harmonious experience. What's a better way to say that? They don't really care, and I don't mean this in a negative sense of the term, they don't really care whether or not there's harmony in the environment around them. It doesn't bother them that much whenever there's disharmony in the environment. And what that means is that whenever there's conflict or someone is upset, or even if they're just meeting someone new, they're not going to go through the normal niceties of social convention. They're not going to smile more than they need to, if at all. They're not going to speak in a super friendly tone and use lots of small talk to get the conversation flowing. Oftentimes they're going to show up like a brick wall, and I've experienced this time and time again. It's almost like you can almost point them out in a crowd. You look at everyone, and everyone's kind of alive and an organic being and smiling and laughing, and then the INTJ's like, and you're like, hey, hey over there, and the INTJ's like, and that's all you get. So, all right, number 2, an extraordinary ability for strategizing. And when I say extraordinary, I mean I can't fully explain it. They have a way in which they can plan for the future and get monumental things done around them, and that is something that I struggle with. They're able to understand the implications of things that will happen in the future and come up with really great ways to get those things done. It has to be something with their introverted intuition and all that, but they have a really great ability to do that. An example is if you need a big project done at work, say in the corporate environment, and it's going to have a lot of moving parts, but more importantly, it's going to require cooperation from different teams. The INTJ is going to be able to understand what needs to be done in order to get everyone to play nicely with one another. I'm not saying they're going to be rainbow unicorn ENFP about it either. They may pull a couple of puppet master strings to get this thing done, and they'll do certain things that will make people perform optimally and to get the project done while thinking it's their idea. So it's just a really interesting way in which they can strategize to get things done. It's kind of like an esoteric behind the scenes way in which they can pull certain levers in an environment to make certain outcomes occur to get the problem solved. And that's why they're always called the mastermind and things like that. It's because they have an extraordinary vision for stuff like that. Number 3, poor INTJs. If you don't like me yet, you're not going to like me after this one. Inability to admit being wrong. So this is something that I've noticed primarily with unhealthy INTJs. However, I've even observed it in some healthy INTJs, emotionally healthy INTJs. Not necessarily saying out loud admittance to being wrong in a situation, although that is included in what I mean. What I'm talking about is sometimes they're wrong and they know that they are wrong in a situation, but they literally won't say it out loud. They just drop the subject, and they never give the other person the satisfaction or even that they don't even acquiesce to the fact that the other person is right. So that can be detrimental in relationships. So, but it also helps them in the corporate environment, unfortunately, or fortunately for them. So, because the less you admit you're wrong in a lot of companies, the better you'll do, because perception is reality. And so if you fail at something or are wrong, you just drop it and move on. You don't admit anything. And INTJs, that's kind of second nature to them. I'm not saying it's because of it. I don't think they have malicious intent with it. It's just not part of the way their brain works to say, yes, I'm wrong. Yes, that's correct. Versus INTP, I'm like, oh, the truth is very important to us, more so than our own self-efficacy. Well, oh, you're right. Yes, I'm wrong. Correct. All right. So the INTJ, I believe that they attach a part of themselves to whether or not the outcome of the situation is to their advantage. I didn't state that correctly. The INTJ attaches part of their self-efficacy as to whether or not they're right in a situation, and therefore they can get quite emotional and upset if they're wrong, and so they just avoid it. It's over, it's done, versus them saying, yes, I'm wrong, you're right, because that's forcing them to kind of wallow in that lowered version of themselves that they've discovered. There's also a different type of being wrong, and it's the so there's two types. The first type is they realize they're wrong and they don't mention it. The second type is they are actually wrong, but they don't think that they're wrong. And it's because I'm fairly certain of introverted intuition. They rely on it so strongly that they'll ignore data, objective, observable, empirical data, because they believe so strongly in their introverted intuition. That's not okay, INTJs. If there's data that proves you wrong, it doesn't matter what your intuition says. You're wrong. And unless you can bring data to the table to prove otherwise, you're wrong. And so, and that's okay. That doesn't have anything to do with you. The truth operates independent of you or anyone else. So that's just something that I think an improvement opportunity for some INTJs. I have seen some that are completely good with admitting fault and admitting they're wrong. So it is possible. 4, they jump from one node of thought to another via introverted intuition, and it's really hard to follow sometimes. This is one of my favorite parts about the INTJ as well. This doesn't resonate with me at all. INTPs are actually less intuitive than, say, the ISTP. And it's because our intuition is extroverted, and we have introverted thinking as our dominant. So really we're cutting through the intuition fairly quickly and organizing it. The INTJ has this wonderful introverted intuition that connects nodes in their nearly unconscious, subconscious level, to the point of them not even being able to describe it sometimes, but the way it comes out to the world is them jumping from topic to topic, and you're thinking, why are you changing the subject? But they're not. See, the thing is, they've got a map drawn out in their subconscious, in their head, of why this relates, and they're eventually going to get back to the current topic at hand, but they're going to hit these nodes in between, and to the outside observer, especially the INTP who wants to know the exact nodes that are being followed, they can't give it to you sometimes. Or if they can, they don't, because they can't possibly see how anyone could miss the connection. Versus me, I find myself a lot of times when talking with INTJs asking them, wait, what? Wait, hold on, what? Why are you talking about this? Wait, what? How did you get over there? And so it's a really interesting thing. It's almost a superpower for INTJs to be able to go from those nodes so quickly, and versus an INTP needs a logical framework to be able to go, like almost a blueprint, to be able to go from those different nodes to one another and one another. Number 5. They aren't bothered. Oh, I'm sorry. I've already discussed that one. The presence in person. Oh, number 5. Dating. All right. So I've dated a few INTJs, and this is a very interesting thing that happens with them. And I've heard from male INTJs that they do this also. So I don't think it's a gender thing. INTJs have a list of criteria, and they want to see as quickly as possible whether or not the person they are dating meets those criteria. And what they're going to do is they're going to plan out, whether formally or informally, they're going to plan out a way to find out whether or not you meet those criteria. And so before they really even show their full selves, they've already started checking these things off a list to make sure that you're compatible with them. And it's a very interesting way of dating. I prefer a more organic, get to know the person, just see what happens, open-ended, sort of way of going about dating. But INTJs are very systemized with it, which is a very different and perhaps more efficient way of dating. So I think that's very peculiar, but really cool. It's in a world of wishy-washy flickiness, the INTJ's checklist is kind of refreshing, to be honest. So, okay, that's my 5 observations of the INTJ from an INTP perspective. If you hadn't done it already, hit like and subscribe. All right, bye, y'all.